Hello and welcome to the B&B show. My name is Brandon Kane, and the man returning to my left, you know the name, that's Seahawks Brendan Nelson, back in the house here. Brendan, it's good to have you back as we put the button on our scouting process here. It's a long one for you. I think you even started earlier than me in back in the spring on some of these guys looking at it, and it's we're getting close to the work being all done, but it feels very nice getting to the culmination of this, doesn't it? Having gone through all these guys.
Yeah, it is a lot. It is a lot. And, it's not for everybody. Not everybody is going to be into talking about guys that are going to be lucky to get drafted. Not everybody's going to be into the sixth round guys. But, we do it because, I just want to understand as much of this draft as I can. It's a labor of love.
It really is. It really is. And today, to your point on that, it's not necessarily the most exciting of positions when you're tracking through these, but nonetheless, a position that potentially could be in play for our Seattle Seahawks, and that there is some good, talented guys in this draft at the safety position. It's got a bit of a drop off, but there is some strength at the top of it, and it is kind of a subtle need, in my opinion. Here, see if you agree on this, Brendan. And obviously, with Kobe Bryant, you've got that potential with him being on the final year of his deal, but then we also, of course, have Love, who stops really being as cheap as he's been here this year, next year, after this season. So maybe a little bit of getting up ahead of that on this kind of pick too.
Yeah, I can absolutely see that. And I think it's a position that McDonald values. I think it's a position that McDonald would like to have some superstar player at. And I'm not really thinking about the immediate value. I'm thinking about the long-term value. If I can get a guy who maybe he's not going to do a lot this year, but he's going to be great for us for the next 8 years, then that's somebody that I want. That's something that I want to be a part of. That's how I'm thinking about things.
So then fair to say that you're not looking for the limited floor guy. You want ceiling on the guy you take in this draft from the safety position, regardless of where you take him in the draft.
I'm liking the sound of that. Yes.
Certainly. Perfect. Well, let's kick it on off here with our what is, by most accounts, the number one safety on the board. There's some who like one other guy maybe a little bit higher, but I think for our perspective, this is our number one guy on each of our boards. I do have him with a late first round grade, Brendan, and a guy that would definitely be a fit to this defense. Malaki Starks out of Georgia, a really fun player in this class from the safety group, a real complete guy, 3-year starter. What did you think of the tape on Starks?
Well, Starks, it really is all about the tape with him. You look at him, you watch him play. He's got versatility. He can play both safety spots. And by the way, that's going to be an important thing to keep in mind here with these McDonald safeties, right? We need guys that can play both spots. We need guys who can basically offer flexibility so that way we can play our defense the way it was meant to be played. We need safeties that are ubiquitous.
Yep, 100%. And so they need to do the more they can do, the better it'll be a draw essentially to McDonald.
Yeah, he's very tough at the catch point. Really good at tracking all across the field, a lot of range, willing to go all over the field, sideline to sideline to get to the ball carrier. He's a good, firm tackler as well. He's really hard to block. He's one of those guys that it's just hard to get a square block on. He finds a way to slip through, finds a way to get through the thicket. He's good protecting deep zones. He's, I think, somebody who's going to be a good deep safety as well. And he's not a stellar athlete. He's not huge, but it's workable. It's a workable combination of size and athleticism that I think will be more than fine in the NFL overall. I don't think he'll be great as a box safety. I don't think he'll be great around the line of scrimmage. I don't think he'll be great in man coverage. So there are some holes here. And overall, I came away thinking, yeah, this is a first round pick, but this is not in the realm of this is not a Kyle Hamilton situation where this is just some super blue chip safety that needs to be going in the top 10. I didn't come away feeling like this would be a money in the bank pick at 18. I came away thinking this would be an okay pick at 18. I'd be okay with it. I wouldn't be pumping my fist about it. I wouldn't be throwing a party about it. But I ended up coming away thinking this is a very good player. I don't know if he has like superstar upside, but I think he has star upside. And I think that he fits in well with what McDonald would want to do.
Fairly, that's a fair evaluation, I would say. I think I feel much of the same way. I do think I found him to be a little bit more what I would register to place him into more of kind of a hyper athletic kind of way that he plays on the field, especially compared to some of these safeties in this draft. I really do think that he rallies to the ball and from the center field in a different way than a lot of the safeties in this draft who take tentative approaches and who definitely have their share of business decisions on tape, especially with some of the day three guys that we'll take a look at. Did love him as a tackler in space as well. I love how he picks up guys in zone coverage from the safety position, and if they're coming into a zone, bam, he snaps right onto them in coverage and gets tight and squeezes those routes. It makes it very hard for quarterbacks to have a window to throw into. He's got really good ball skills for the position. He's going to get his share of interceptions at the next level. He's got a couple of spectacular picks back at the college level, but I just think in general he's going to do it. He does have some times on tape where there's a little bit of like, just not always seemingly fully engaged every time, where there's a couple of bad reps kind of sprinkled all in there. He's not going to fight off blocks, to your point about playing down by the box and being like a box type safety. It's not really him, but he can handle doing slot duties, and you want to put him on a slot and have him do that for a while. He's fully capable of running step for step with those guys. I think he brings you a pretty complete level of play. I think the important part, like you said, is maybe the most important part in taking him is that you do feel like you have star potential here. You would, though, same way, I'd feel okay at 18 here. It's a little bit like Gray Zabel on the offense if you take him at 18, where you're like, okay, it's fine, but I'd kind of like to move back like 7 or 8 picks and then make that selection. And that would be maybe more of the ideal here with Starks if you could pull it off.
Yeah, that's how I felt as well. I think that he's probably okay at 18, but he's not pump my fist at 18.
No, there are some pump the fist kind of picks that you can be made that would be much more in alignment with that. But really great fit to McDonald's defense. He'd love to have this guy as a chess piece to use all over the place. Both him and Devin Witherspoon would give you some really fine tacklers in that secondary. We start to get along more to that range of things at times. And an answer in the long term, like you're talking about, 8 years, star potential. You can understand why you take that in the first round. That's for sure.
Right. And I do have him as the number 1 safety. It was tight. It was a little bit tight for me, but I do have him as the number 1 safety.
Yeah, it wasn't quite as tight for me on that, though. This next guy I do have pretty close to as far as where the draft grade goes. But I just think Starks on this one has more realized potential than the guy that we're going to talk about next. And that is that this is the guy that is the favorite for many in this draft, and a guy that I know a lot of Hawk fans have been locking into for a while here. They've got their sonar lock, like talking. They've been that way for about a month and a half on this guy. And you're not going to find a more talented safety in any draft, really, than Nick Emmanwori, are you, Brendan?
No, you're looking at a historic athlete for the position, an absolute historic athlete for the position. And I certainly get the hype here. I've cooled off a little bit. I think that, that combine definitely sucks you in just a little bit. How can it not? And then you step back and you take a look at things and you're like, well, let's slow it down a little bit here. The production in college has been pretty good. He was good at South Carolina, but when you're looking at him, you're looking at something that is kind of a little bit of an unfinished product. He's been accused of taking plays off and not always bringing it really hard at every single snap. He does do things that are suboptimal and depend on his athletic gifts to bail him out. Like, he takes bad angles, I think, at times, but he makes up for it because he's so fast and so quick and so explosive. I think he can be a little slow to trigger downhill, and I don't think he's a great diagnoser of plays yet. I don't think his instincts as a defender have really developed yet, but theoretically, he's everything McDonald could look for. Historically great athlete, versatile to play either safety position. He's got big range when contesting passes. He's able to get his hand in there when a lot of other players wouldn't. He's got good ball skills when the ball's in the air. He's got the athletic skills to play man coverage. He could be an all-timer, but the issue that I have would be this idea of him taking plays off. Like, that's something that I heard a lot. That's something that I've seen a little bit of. So I look at that and I think to myself, well, unlike Jihad Campbell, who is another player that I think is an unfinished product, I'm less sure of him finding his way in the NFL given that.
Yeah, I think that this kid is going to be able to play in the league. I think that the superstar potential stuff is never really going to ever click in fully for him on that. Doesn't mean that he can't be a very fine player and even a guy that maybe makes a couple Pro Bowls in his time. But I think that there's a heavy draw here to say that he's right on the edge, the precipice of becoming that next great safety in this sport. And I just, you didn't see it on the tape. The plays off stuff I think is very valid in the respect of it. Absolutely, my final note I have here written on him is the coals in his fire, the coals in the fire of his engine do not always burn red hot. And I've watched as much tape on him as any safety in this class because there's so many 12s that have said, you know, you're not seeing this correctly. You're not seeing this clearly. Go back and watch the tape. No, this guy's this guy's that. And I think there are a lot of good parts he does bring. The points you brought up, how he plays the run overall is pretty good. There are some circuitous routes that he takes to the ball carrier at times. Part a little bit of that business decision thing I was inferring about when it comes to like what Malaki Starks does not do. This guy does. I think he's very impressive, Brendan, and as good as anybody in this draft safety wise. Where I think the toughest thing you can ask the safety to do is be in a cover two shell and then ask them to have to play the slot coming up field 12 yards, where the slot receiver gets a 12-yard run up to the safety before he breaks off the stem of his route. That's a tough draw because you've got to keep yourself over the top clean. You got to be ready for the two-way go routes that you have to pick up at the stem of the route. And so the challenge is really hard. And he does that stuff so seamlessly on tape. And it's so very impressive when he does. And it's consistent. But when it comes to the tackling all the time and always getting off blocks and always trying to be, people try to make the Cam Chancellor comparisons. Like, I don't think it's really there. He is capable of lighting you up. He can definitely put some of those Cam-like hits on tape, but you're just not going to see him consistently coming about. 6 interceptions the past 2 years. He's got ball skills, tremendous ball skills, I would say at times. Again, just doesn't always see it consistently with him, where it's just you see it all over the place. And there's a lot of tape you watch with him where it just goes kind of quiet for 2-3 quarters at a time. And you go, is he still on the field? He's out there, right? The comp everybody's been going for is this guy or the Hamilton or Cam. Let's see if you like this comp. And this might be a little bit before your time to a degree, but I this is the one that not mine. Somebody's said recently, and I think it's on point. And that would be Adrian Wilson, the former Arizona Cardinal safety.
I remember him a little bit. I remember him. He was like kind of the original Jamal Adams. He was a big time blitzer, right?
Yeah, more of a kind of an enforcer down by the line of scrimmage guy, which, maybe in Emmanwori, he's not as much, you'd say, enforcer. Emmanwori's probably got a little bit more coverage ability than Adrian Wilson had, probably a little more faster. But I think in general terms, there's a lot of similarities to their games, much more than those other comps that are being thrown around.
Yeah, okay. I can dig that one. And if he ends up being as good as Adrian Wilson, I guess that's a pretty good thing. But yeah, I don't know. I came away from Emmanwori feeling like he could be great. He could be very special. But when it comes to these raw hyper athletes, I ended up feeling a lot better about Jihad Campbell than I did Emmanwori.
I do too. I have much more faith that he's going to both with star potential. Jihad's much more likely to be clicking in and locking to that place than I think Emmanwori is. I do think Emmanwori, if he just washes out to the worst side of what he'll be, is probably still at the very least going to be a slightly above average league player if he can't really top into everything, which still isn't the worst of things. That is why I put him more into the second round, though, because I don't have as much of the faith that he's going to realize all of the potential that sits there. And there's also a little bit of the question with him on the, I'm sure you've heard with it on the coaching aspect of it, maybe a little hard-headed, maybe a little bit like, not, I know the right way to do this. I don't have to listen to you thing is a little bit of what I've heard about him too. I don't know if any of that's really the truth with it, but could be a factor in this case as well.
Yeah. I do get that sense that I don't get with a guy like Starks.
No. It's just, there's a couple little things there with Emmanwori to me, but I went second round with him.
Yeah, I still put him in my first, but right at the back of the first, like right there with the guy like Shamar Stewart in terms of like, yeah, I guess he's a first, but I don't know if I want him in the first.
He shows you the flashes of the all-around game, Brendan. He does. I wish it was more consistent, but I can't deny the fact that you see everything you want to see from a safety position in this guy. Take away the ball, come up and tackle, can be ferocious and be a hitter, can play man coverage, can do a variety of different coverages in the cover 2 shell and play single high and play cover 2 and pick that slot up, like I said, from, basically 12 yards off the ball. So there's a lot of things that you do see on the tape that he does show, and I can get why people get hyped up and like him a lot. It's just about a little bit more of the consistency factor showing up to me, especially for a safety position. When you watch the tape with safeties, a lot of times all these guys, you just go through snap after snap after snap, and they're not really doing a lot of stuff. They're just kind of running over to here to kind of help with this, or kind of running over to here to help with that. So you're going to take a guy early on this position. To me, I need to see the consistent difference making element to take you that high versus a different position.
Yeah, I agree. So those are your two likely first rounders at safety. And it's almost like the classic argument of tape versus athletic ability, right? It's like almost like the nature versus nurture argument. It feels like we've been having this debate for a long time. What do you want? What would you rather have?
And don't you believe too that when we get through this draft season, going through it yearly, that as you get further drawn into this draft process, there's a tendency, regardless of position, to like those testing times and you get 4.4 and 1.5. They start to become the thing that rises up and becomes the thing everybody becomes fascinated with, as opposed to the actual tape itself. And it's the longer, would you not agree, the longer the process goes, this thing starts to capture everybody, and this stuff gets forgotten about a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, that's the only reason why you would see a player rise up or fall down boards after the season's over, right? Because they're not putting any more tape out there.
Nope. But I do see people getting caught up. The long draft season that we go through, Brendan, I think pundits do it. I think experts do it, where you just can see them start to just gravitate back to those numbers. And it's like, yeah, they're good, but really got to go back and watch that tape and really turn it on. It's going to tell you the whole story.
Right.
All right, this next guy up is maybe not a guy for you. You have higher on the list as I do. I'm sure you probably got the Notre Dame kid a little bit higher than him, but I'm going to go to this next guy here, who I do have as my next guy on my list. I put him above the Notre Dame guy. Mm-hmm. I think size is really the limiting thing with him. I mean, if this guy was 6'1" and 205, might be the number one safety taken off the board in this draft. It is really the size you're dinging him for. But I felt like I saw it as much on tape, the limitations of the size and what he brings. It's a real thing. There's a couple of mighty mites in this draft, Brendan, at the safety position. But I really loved Mukuba's tape out of Texas. What did you think?
Mukuba's a guy I've been keeping an eye on for a couple years now. I remember when he was at Clemson and first getting hyped. He is indeed undersized, and he's not slow at all. I remember when he was first getting hyped, the thing that people said about him was, this guy's like a 4.3 guy, like 4.3 flat. He's really fast. So when he runs a 4.45, that does take the wind out of the sails just a little bit, I think. But heaps and heaps of starting experience. He played a ton in college. He's got great movement skills in space, which allows him to do well in man coverage. I think he's going to be good in man. He's got good ball skills, really showcased those ball skills well last year for Texas. Reads routes well from deep zones. So if you put him as a single high or two high safety, he'll be good. He's also good coming up in run support. He's really aggressive coming up in run support, really decisive. I do think that the size is a real concern here, because he doesn't balance that out with tremendous speed. But I think he looks pretty fast on the field, so I'm a little more forgiving of that. I'm hoping that translates. He tries to be a good tackler, but his lack of length really hurts his ability to wrap up. Sometimes I feel like he overruns plays when he comes up in run support and ends up out of position because of it. But I think there's versatility here. I think he's certainly better for, our purposes, for Mike McDonald's purposes. He is better than the Notre Dame guy. Notre Dame guy is a little bit more of a traditional deep safety. We'll talk about him in a second. This is a more versatile player. But with that size, I did end up pushing him down to the third round. I couldn't quite get to the second round with him because I'm just a little bit worried about that size being a problem.
Understandable. It's going to be the main thing that people are going to look at with him, I think, and get caught up with above all else. I did just really like his tape a lot and thought that he really shined and stood out when you're watching him fly around to the ball, and that he's making his presence felt. And so many of these players on the safety tape, when you watch him, it's just such quiet tape. It's such like Emmanwori, where you're just having quarters that you go at a time of not really feeling or seeing what they're doing. And with Mukuba, he's just seemingly all over the place at all times, which I really like. Quickly reactive, hard-hitting free safety, good ball skills. I found him to be a fairly sure tackler, but there are some misses on there on tape here and there. But overall, I think he shows enough to show you that he's pretty consistent with it. The 30-inch arms are going to cause him not to wrap up here and there, but it's just I didn't think it was a blatant issue. I loved it that at Clemson he played a lot of slot and then did a little bit less than of Texas, and that they put him more into a safety role. So he's really going to be having some fluency with both playing to the slot and doing all of the safety stuff. You talk about that versatility, and that's what you get with him here. Now, you're not going to need him in the slot with Witherspoon, but it's just nice to have that kind of versatility. So I just feel like his instincts and in-play awareness are a little bit of a separating factor for him amongst this class about some of the other safeties in it, and that's really what drove me up. Where I just don't think there's a ton of deficiencies to his game outside of that size thing, outside of maybe the occasional lost tackle. But I found him to be very, very good in coverage, and he takes away the quarterback's first read a lot of times with sometimes his drop in coverage in that way. And so I'm very hyped on him. I think too on the speed thing. I think this would you inferred this a little bit, and I think I would push down on this a little bit in that this is a guy that on tape is more of a 4.37 1.50 10-yard split guy, and the 1.53 10-yard split's great. So yeah, I think he's even a little bit quicker than that on tape. There is those guys that don't test as well in running on a track as they do when you put the pads on them and they're just football fast. And I'd say that this guy is legit football fast from the secondary.
Yeah. I think it'll work itself out fine. I'm not too concerned about it, but I would have liked to have seen more proof positive of the speed because he is so small.
It's fair. It's fair. It's going to be a bit of the roll, maybe the roll of dice there, and that you're hoping that play speed's legit when you are taking him where you're grabbing him. I do think he goes in the second round, though, for sure in this draft. Because I just think the tape's going to be too good on him.
All right.
All right. Next guy up, guy we're just talking about, Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame. Smooth cover free safety, Brendan, with some ball skills. The ball just seems to find this guy, doesn't it?
Yeah, unnaturally good at finding the ball and bringing it in. Ball skills are probably the best of any safety in this class. And it's not like he's getting targeted a ton. There are some of these guys out there that have a lot of picks, but they're also getting targeted almost 100 times a year. This guy got targeted a total of 64 times, according to PFF, over the last 2 years, and he has 13 interceptions out of those 64 targets. Now, sometimes he gets an interception on a play where he wasn't targeted, but still, that's really good. That's special.
It's kind of like Kobe Bryant, right? Like it's just, there's some players that just seem to have this weird thing where the ball just kind of finds them on the defense.
Right. So really good takeaway artist, really good protecting deep zones, also capable of playing in the box. And I want to stress that term, capable. I wouldn't say he's very good at it, but he's willing to get involved in run support. Really good read and react, really good at diagnosing plays. Remarkable ability to cover tightly without drawing penalties as well. But he'll never be a standout run defender. I don't think he has very good technique with his tackling. Probably not going to be able to do in man coverage because I don't think his reactive athleticism is there. He's not overly fast. He depends very heavily on his instincts and play diagnosing skills to get into the right spot. He's pretty well defined as a player. He's a deep safety. He's a free safety, and that's going to be great for some teams, but for this team, I don't know if he really works. I don't know how you could make that work because he is somewhat limited in the field of playing in the box and offering run support.
Yeah, I'm a little concerned on the run support and the tackling is the real specific parts of his game that jump up. The coverage side is really, really cool, though, too. 13 interceptions over the past 2 years. I mean, that is insane production. As you said, it isn't all just him running around out there being Ed Reed. Some of it is the overthrows or a tip ball, and he's the right place at the right time to make the play, which isn't, like I said, some guys just have that magnet to them when it comes to the ball. But he also creates a lot of this in coverage by how he plays it, right? Because he can flip his hips. He can drive on routes. You talked about his anticipation and his intelligence and pre-snap awareness of what's happening and kind of picking up the route concepts to be able to give himself that in to go make the pick. So he also does drive and create a lot of these situations when they occur too. And you don't get to 13 interceptions just by overthrows and tip passes. But the tacklings, he's got a good number of missed tackles on his tape. I was the same thing that I saw on tape that you did with him, which is that the technique is completely sloppy. He's not coming in wrap and roll. There's shoulder taps going in there where he just wants to kind of try to knock the guy down. It's sometimes tackling too high. He is all over the place, and it is really sloppy. So I think he's got quite a bit of ways to go when it comes to being a better tackler in that way. And it may never come forward where, like you said, I think maybe the best suit to this guy would be, man, if this guy came in Brendan Carroll's defense 10 years ago, that would have been the right time for him. But right now you're at the proliferation of cover two shell in the league, and that you've got to kind of play this. And it is a little bit where my worries do come up with Watts. I did just come back to falling back on, though, Brendan, that the ball skills are so good. He's going to take it away at a higher rate, or a very good, if you're starting, I think, he's going to be in the probably upper 80, 85 percentile as far as picks and interceptions go in the sport. And is that enough to kind of win out over the day? And it was enough to make him a second round pick for me and go, okay, the tackling's not great, but it's good enough, like I can work with it, so to speak.
Yeah, I think that if he fits your defense, he's worth a second round pick. I do.
Yeah.
That's where I put him. I mean, you ask yourself, how do you feel about a guy like Geno Stone? This guy could end up being like Geno Stone in the NFL, right? A really good ball hawk who doesn't offer a heck of a lot else. Is that worth a second round pick to you? I think the answer is probably yes.
I'd say, yeah, I think he is a little better of a tackler than that guy was. That guy was just a nothing. Just nothing. This guy's got limitations as a tackler, but he overall gets the job done. It's just a little thing that does pop up here and there and there and there.
Mm-hmm. Right.
All right. Well, keeping it moving then, you got a second round pick on him too as well?
Yeah, I went late second round, but I did go second round.
All right, let's go to this next guy who I'm not unconvinced on this next guy, Brendan, that he might not just be, number one, the most talented safety in this entire class, even beyond. And I know Emmanwori's got natural physical gifts, but I'm talking about true just talent that you've seen on the field play out. And he might end up, to me, proving to be the best safety in this class when we get 5 years down the line of this. Are you buying either of those 2 points when it comes to Kevin Winston Jr. at Penn State?
I think it's possible. I don't know if I would bet on it.
I'm not saying a bet. I'm just saying I wouldn't be surprised.
He is very intriguing, though, right? He's got big size, 6'1.5", 215 pounds. He would be one of the bigger safeties in football. So you do have some interesting things going on there. He's got long arms as well. He's got great length. So he's an excellent tackler. I think that's his main thing he's bringing to the table here. He's a great tackler. Very aggressive the way he comes up to attack the run. He plays it like a box linebacker sometimes. So really good stuff going on there. Very tough at the catch point as well. If he's in the area when the ball's coming down, he's really hard to get a catch through. He's got a lot of room to get better as well because he's 21 years old and he really didn't play that much in college because he got hurt. So he could get a lot better in the next couple of years here. His room to grow up is actually pretty tremendous. Now he is unrefined. He's not very good at diagnosing plays yet because he just hasn't had the opportunity to build that experience yet. For the moment, we do have to be wondering if maybe the injuries are just going to be part and parcel of his game. I don't think he'll ever be a very good deep safety. I don't think he has that skill set. I don't think he has the range for it. I don't think his ball skills are there for it. And he doesn't have great change of direction skills, so I don't know about him in man coverage. So there are some limitations here that make me feel like he probably won't be the best safety in this class, but I think he'll be awesome in the box. I think he'll be awesome covering tight ends. I think he'll be able to do that. And I think that he could make massive improvements in the next couple of years. So this was a guy who was going to be a first-round pick this year, I think, and then he got hurt. So keep that in mind. So I'm all over him in the third round. He might have a second-round value for me or very close to it. I just, he hasn't played a lot. You got to be a little bit careful here, but he is very good.
Yeah, I do have the third round grade with the ACL and where it's at. I do believe he would have been a first round guy if he'd gone through the whole season. I do think I like a little bit more complete the skill set. I think this might be the one player too that we really do see a little bit of some different things, as far as it goes on him. Because I found him to be excellent at diagnosing the play. I found him to be quick as a post read react defender. I saw him. I think I loved him a lot more. I think, as you're talking about, is more kind of a box safety. But to me, it's a guy that was excellent in coverage, especially when you go back to the 2023 numbers. The guy's targeted only 20 times. You're not going to find a safety in this class that's only been targeted 20 times this past year in coverage. And it speaks to what he was shutting down in that second level in his coverage. I think you are correct about the change of direction. He's got a little bit of tight hips. He's got this weird floppy arm thing that he does where it's like wasted motion when he's trying to change direction, and he's not as efficient then as a movement with it. But I think that he's got plus quickness and plus speed for the position, and then he plays with a sense of urgency that's unusual as well, and that makes him almost a little bit faster for the position. And I think that these things are really going to come together to make him a hell of a player at the pro level. Wouldn't want to take him in the second round. You take this kind of flyer in the third round on this kind of guy. But I do believe that there's a real chance here with him that you're getting maybe the best safety in this class.
Yeah, I think there's a shot. I think that, again, I'm not as sold on the coverage as you are, but he's got a shot. This is not a Xavier Watts situation where he'll never be a good run defender, I don't think. Yeah. This guy could get better in some of these areas.
For sure. Very young cat, still at 21 years old. So
yeah, that was actually it for my top 100 in terms of safeties.
That is it. That's it for me too.
So, like linebacker, we run out very quickly here, but it's okay. It's okay. It's a good draft class to already have your safety position decently well taken care of.
It is. This is a good one to walk in with your two set. Like you can grab one if the value lands right, but you don't have to reach for one because I would estimate that these top five guys we're looking at here, probably most of them are going to get reached a little bit higher than they should go because of that drop off that does occur a little bit at the position.
Right.
All right. So we move into fourth round here, and a lot of mighty mites here in the fourth round. We'll start out with the first one here, a little tiny guy out of Oklahoma, but a guy with some ball skills and a good player, Billy Bowman. What do you think about him? Is this guy going to be big enough to make this work at the next level?
Shortest arms for a safety in combine history. I think shortest arms for a defensive back in combine history.
Yeah.
28 and a half inch arms, man. Jeez. I mean, it's going to be really hard for him to overcome that. He is relatively fast, but he's not tiny, actually. 192 by defensive back standards isn't tiny anymore, it feels like. So it's not the end of the world, but that length might be the end of the world.
Did you feel like he's playing at 192 pounds on the field when you watched him?
Maybe not, but it's hard to size that up sometimes, man.
It is, but I definitely feel like him. He was more. It felt more 180-ish to me, or into even the 170s mode watching him play.
Yeah, so he's got great ball skills, great sense of where the play is going. He's got great play recognition skills, good speed, good acceleration, rapid recognition of a run play. Recognizes run very quickly and then goes to hit the run. Willing to play through contact to get to the ball, so he's willing to get physical. He's got the movement skills for man coverage. I think he'll be decent in man coverage. But the size, it feels like some of this stuff just doesn't matter. Like, how are you going to succeed at that size with those arms? He'll never be a good tackler. Like, he's just got no chance because his arms are so short. Like, there's only so much you can do to overcome that. Bigger receivers are just going to eat him up. Like if he has to go up against, imagine if he has to go up against like a DK Metcalf or somebody like that, it would just be game over. He's not even 5'10". So I think he gives a lot of effort. I respect the hustle, and there is some stuff here that I like, but there's a lot that's limited here. He's not going to be any kind of a box safety, not going to be any kind of a run supporter. So I ended up going late fourth round, and I'm still like, man, I might regret that. I might regret taking him in the fourth round when I just find out that he's not a real NFL player.
I'm kind of in the same place with it on it. I think the tackling is the part you can't understate with him to me, where I mean, he just comes up and he has so many missed tackles and just he can't wrap up. He's just not big enough. That's where you could keep coming to time and time again. One of the missed tackles is you go, it's not technique. It isn't. He's trying to break down. He's just bouncing off the guy, and there's little he can do about it. I think your point is well about the bigger receivers giving him issues on contested catch kind of situations. You see that on tape. That's something that's there. There's some times where he's just can't do anything about it. And you hate those kind of players where you have both places on a defense when we're playing against the run, against the pass, where there's just going to be moments where you might be in the right place at the right time. You're in the good position. You just don't have enough length. You don't have enough size. You don't have enough sand in the pants to get the job done. And I do really worry about it. I did do the fourth round because of the ball skills are kind of so unique and special. 11 interceptions over the past 3 years. Another guy where the ball, like Xavier Watts, where the ball just seems to kind of find him, tip passes just seem to kind of find him. I like that part of it, but I have a hard time even like thinking maybe he could play full-time, slot and then transition a little bit to safety. He's got some slot snaps, but you don't want him to live there. And he gave up his share of completions from the slot. I do like that he's gotten better in coverage every year from the safety position in college. So you do see some steady improvement from him, but just don't know how it's going to work at the next level at this size.
Yeah, sometimes there's just one thing wrong, but that thing wrong is so wrong, the good stuff feels like it doesn't really matter.
It truly does. And I just think that's going to be the case with him. There's nowhere to just really go there on that one. Mm-hmm. Next guy up on we had on the list where you submitted. I've got this guy actually in due more of a 5th round. And this guy, a lot of people do actually kind of like a bit, but I'm really, really low on this guy. Lathan Ransom. Where do you got Lathan?
I got him in the 5th round as well. The list I send you is pretty much always just going to be in order according to the aggregate.
Okay.
I'm not always going to agree with the aggregate, and I do agree with you here. Lathan Ransom, pretty decent size, short arms though. He's a big hitter. He forces a lot of fumbles. Actually, that's one of his skill sets. He lays the wood, and I think there is something to be said for that. He's going to be a great special teamer. I think you're getting at least that with him. He's got some good instincts, got a good feel for where the play is going. He's okay in coverage when it comes to like man coverage on tight ends. And he's an intimidator. I think that's the role that he played for Ohio State. He was the guy that you don't want to send your receiver over the middle because you know he's there waiting to lay the wood. But he's not going to be great in coverage. He's not going to be a very good deep safety. You're not getting any kind of thing there. Sometimes he goes for the big hit and shouldn't have and misses the tackle because of it. He is somebody that will go for the boom or bust. Not poor ball skills, not very fast. So he's the classic box safety. He's somebody who's really scary for opposing receivers and running backs because he hits so hard, but there's not much else here. I put in my notes more sizzle than steak, and I put him in the 5th round.
Yeah, I've got him as a late 5th round grade that I even wanted to push into 6th, 7th round at times. I just found him to be fairly nondescript as a player. He scoots around the field with barely above average quickness and speed. I found his instincts to be slow to react, slow to diagnose. I found him as average as a tackler. I think his 30.5-inch arms do show up with a little bit of like, that's supposed to be his bread and butter, but he comes up and there's times where he's going to have tackles slip out of his grips. And I think it's sometimes a little bit because of those short arms. And he's not the biggest guy out there, and just in general terms. Listed at 210, but another guy that I wouldn't be surprised if he was more playing at like 190, 195 when it came to game day. He gets stuck on blocks. You mentioned the ball skills. There's a rep you can go find of Tyler Warren running down the field on a 9 route. The ball's thrown right past Ransom's shoulder. He doesn't even know where the ball's coming. He's got no ball skills whatsoever to realize when the ball's in the air. He just gets kind of stuck on coverage, trying to run step for step and drape the guy. I just didn't like the tape on him, man. I'm a very boring tape to me was Lathan Ransom.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan either. I think he's a little bit overrated. I put him in my 5th, so I'm not far off from you.
All right. Well, keeping it moving here, we've got a guy I do like a little bit more, Jonas Sanker from Virginia.
Yeah, I actually put this guy right outside my top 100.
Ooh, okay.
Right
I
outside.
like that.
So even like late, the late
Third.
Late 3rd would not be the end of the world to me. So he's got good size, good arm length, decent speed. Not a ton of ball production, but he does actually get his hand on the ball a lot, even though he doesn't take it away as much as you would like. 200 tackles over the last 2 seasons, so he's been a big part of that Virginia defense. I really like the way he crashes down into the box to stop the run. I like the way he really just aggressively goes down there to get the back. He looks the part of an NFL safety. He's not one of these mighty mites. He's a guy who actually looks like somebody who can play NFL safety. He's effective at the catch point to make a play on the ball, at least swatting it away. He uses his length well. He's going to be a good special teamer. He's a hard hitter. I think he's got the reading skills for zone, and I think he's got the reactive athleticism for man. Some of the downsides I had, he's not the best tackler. I think he bites on misdirection and fakes sometimes and gets beat because of it. Doesn't always take the best angles. Does get stuck on blockers on his way to the ball sometimes, and he is a little bit of a backfield watcher. But I like his versatility. I like his flexibility. I think that a lot of his issues are fixable. I think that maybe you can get him to be a little more reactive to the actual play instead of biting on fakes and misdirection. So I'd take him in the very late third or very early fourth and try to figure it out.
I am very much a similar place as far as I see. Athletic, quick, fairly complete skill set overall, which you like. No real major deficiency in his game. Love the reactions and where he went. I think the misdirection is a fair point with him, and that is correctable. We're just get some better teaching about pre-snap indicators and not getting bit in the wrong direction at times. There's times to me it wasn't 100% of the times if you buy into it, but I don't think this is a pure comp, but there's just some times in the way that he gets downhill and really goes with the aggression that kind of looks like Buda Baker at times and how he attacks and comes downhill. And he is going to be an ankle clipper. He's going to try to, take you out at that spot. That's where there can be some missed tackles where it's a little bit of the all or nothing thing with him. Where it can look good when he hits the guy and it's a good hit and he knocks him down. There's other times where it's just if he's not wrapping up so that it just kind of comes in and then he'll just kind of ricochet off a little bit. So that's I think a little bit of why his missed tackles came up this year, especially more than they've been in recent years. But he's a forceful hitter. Keep your head on a swivel in short spaces. He's willing to do that. It's just a double-edged sword kind of thing with him. I think he'll be a demon on special teams for you as a backup too. I think I had some snaps where I saw him do some of that stuff. I think it looks good there. Day one, he's racking up tackles for the safety position from you and being a factor in the run game. And it should be also helping you as far as in coverage too. So it's not going to take away the ball like a Watts or, a Bowman does. He's not going to really do that. Like you say and maybe get a hand in there to knock it out or, at the moment of truth, knock it away. But a solid player who's got some reasonable floor to him that would be, to me, I'd be like him in the fourth round if that's where I could get him, but I can understand pushing him up into the top of the third.
Yeah, I'm a fan. I think the flexibility is really valuable, especially in this defense, because not every safety can do that.
Indeed. No, it's a rare skill set at that. So Sanker's one of the funner safeties once you get past the top of the guys on the line, especially for what he's giving you there on that skill set. Next guy up for us is another undersized guy here, but a guy that I do like a little bit more than our other undersized guy we're talking about a second ago, and Billy Bowman, and that's going to be Malachi Moore out of Alabama.
Yeah, so not as small as I thought he'd be at the combine, at least. Not critically small. He does have critically short arms, I will admit. We do have a little bit of a problem there, but he's been pretty productive on that Alabama defense the last couple of years. And he was a leader in the locker room as well. And it's not easy to earn that role on the Alabama defense, so I think that deserves some credit here. I mean, he was considered the locker room leader over guys like Jihad Campbell. That's not easy.
Yeah.
Ready and willing to stick his nose in there in the box is what I put down. So he's willing to get involved in run support. Good versatility to handle different safety responsibilities. He can do some little bit of box stuff. I don't know if I'd want him there a lot, but he can do it. He can do some deep stuff. He can play the robber. He can do center field stuff. So good versatility. He's got enough range to be a pretty decent last line of defense, I think. I don't think he'll ever be a great tackler because his arms are so short. He's not a great athlete overall. I don't think he didn't do anything at the combine. If he did, I don't think it would have come back great. His lack of length makes it really hard for him to work through traffic and get off blockers. And I don't think he's going to be good in man coverage. That would be the one thing I would say he definitely cannot do. I don't think there's a lot of gas in the tank here, but I think his versatility makes him like a very valuable backup to have. So I put him in my fourth round. I think that he's worth taking somewhere around there as a backup. And I don't think he'll get beyond that, but there's value here. He can back up both safety spots, I think.
Agreed, man. I think that you're right about the gas in the tank, sort of saying essentially that, the ceiling's been realized here, right? And what you're saying with that this is a guy that you're looking at with a really, really high floor, 5-year starter at Alabama. He's played a ton of snaps out there. So he walks in day one fluid and able to run through what you want him to run through on your defense, but you aren't going to have a lot of upside beyond that. I think you're right about worrying about the tackle stuff a little bit. And there's been some issues and times in his career with the tackling. He really cleaned it up though this year and really improved it's almost like it was a point of emphasis for him to kind of clean up the missed tackle stuff. But you're right about needing to keep him in zone. I think he can do a variety of different things. This is a very savvy football player, and playing this amount of snaps at the college level at a big program like he has with the great coaching he's had around him to do that, from Saban staff to DeBoer staff. So I really do like the all-around game and what you get, and I think he's a fairly complete player. I think he is small. You were talking worried about, like, he is bigger. There's a guy like Bowman, Brendan, I think you'd agree on this, that I know it's hard to tell, but looked more into like playing at 185, 180. And that's where you feel a little bit of that lack of size with him when he's actually on the field. Some guys lose weight, Brendan, to run fast. Some of these undersized guys, I think, try to gain that extra 10 pounds after the college season to make sure, because they know that if I come in as a corner at 180 pounds or a safety at 180 pounds, they're going to say that's not going to work. Versus you come in at 196 and they're like, well, that's at least functional size weight. We can make that go. So I liked him a lot, man. He's a tough nut. He's a hard football player. He's going to play with some ruggedness to his game despite being undersized. And I think that allowed him to overcome, at the very least, it was a quality backup. But that's why I had to keep him into more of late fourth round, because I don't know if I see starter potential here.
Yeah, I don't think he'll ever be a starter, or not a good starter. Maybe on a team that doesn't care about safety that much and just wants somebody that's not going to completely screw up.
Yeah, maybe. And well, if you lose your starting safety for 7-8 games in a season, and he's got to come in there and play out that, probably can hold up for a given time in that spot as well. But I don't know too as well if that body's going to hold up over a season, taking hits, 17 games. That's a little bit of the part of this, I think, as well.
Right.
All right, next guy up is another guy that's played a lot of college football, and another guy that's a little bit of an older prospect that I've got in my late fourth round, but a guy that I like to tape on as well with RJ Mickens. Were you sold on Mr. Mickens?
Relatively speaking, this is another guy whose dad was in the NFL, actually. Daddy Mickens was actually an NFL player.
So Ray Mickens? That what his name was? Ray Mickens?
I think so. Something like that. That sounds right. I looked it up, but now I can't remember it. Good understanding of reading plays from zone. I think he's a smart cerebral safety. I think he reads plays well. Hard hitter, great tackling technique as well. So he's going to be a really sound tackler overall. Really good in the box. Constantly in the right place to make a play on the ball. It feels like he's got a good instincts. I don't think he's a great athlete. I think he's an average athlete for the position. So he's not going to be able to fully capitalize on his reads. He's not really sticky in man coverage. He doesn't have the movement skills, I don't think, to really handle man coverage stuff. He ran a 4.49 at the combine. I don't think he looked that fast on the tape sometimes, but not that he was slow, but I don't think he was that fast. So I think that there's some good value here as an instinctive zone safety who can do great things as a run defender. Mostly the concerns with him are just athletic ones, and those can be overcome. So I'd say fourth round pick, and we'll try to figure it out.
Yeah, good evaluation, man. I'm about the same thing. I love that he's got damn near equal snaps between free safety and playing down in the box. Short area explosion's good. Runs the alley well. Gets down there to make plays in the run game. Only 100 yards he gave up in receiving this year, Brendan. Again, that's one of those kind of freakish numbers you see. We got some safeties that we could be talking about. It would be up at 450, 500 yards receiving they gave up in this season alone. So only 100 yards given up that stands out in a major way.
Sometimes I feel like that can be a little misleading, though. Like, I remember Jamal Adams' last year here. He gave up very little in coverage. He still wasn't playing great. Like, I mean, I was watching the games. I was still just like, this guy's just okay. So sometimes I feel like that can mislead you.
I don't know. PFF didn't have him credited for giving up any yards.
Well, it was very clean until like the last game before he got hurt. Jamal Adams, the last year he was here. I remember this because he was a guy that a lot of people would debate about, like, oh, Jamal Adams sucks. And then people would be like, no, he's not giving up anything in coverage. Look at the numbers. And that was the back and forth that year.
Okay. All right. Yeah, it's a little outside. I quite can't remember with it, but I definitely remember him with, you see him giving up the car. I just didn't with with Mickens here. I didn't see him giving up, watching him on tape. I'm not feeling like he's not that there's catches and yards he's given up. He's not being credited for, I think the 100 yards matched up to what I saw from him, on tape with that as far as that goes. And I mean, shoot, even, just looking at Jamal's numbers here, it's like, they had him 252, 368, 300 yards received, given up in yards here when he was here in a variety of his different years. So I think it stands out. It's something you don't see much in this when you're going through these safeties class, and to do that and to do it for a guy that's played as much football as him, I think it's true and it's real. I don't think he's going to be dominant, but I think with Mickens, there's a potential upside to become a starter here that does not exist in the last couple of guys that we've talked about. Malachi Moore is a backup. I don't even know if Bowman's going to be able to shake out to becoming a backup. When I do look at Mickens and even Sanker's case, not even sure there. But in Mickens' case, I think of these guys we talk about, he's the one to me that is the likeliest to become a starter in this league and be able to give you a pretty complete play for it.
I can see it. I can see it happening. I do like him. I would take him in the 4th round and feel pretty decent about it.
Yeah. My final notes where I felt like you're going to end up looking at this guy as a guy that you got in the 4th round with 2nd round talent. Mm-hmm. That's what I think you're eventually going to arrive with this guy in my outlook of him.
Right.
All right. So our last 2 guys we've got here is first a couple of West Coast guys, Kitan Crawford. They're kind of fun guy for me to watch on the tape. What did you think about the kid out of Nevada?
Right. Kitan Crawford, workable size, workable length, pretty good testing numbers as well. He jumped 41.5 inches. That's not far off from where Emmanwori was. Broad jump was really good too. So the combine was a big win for him. He's a genuinely great athlete. I'd go so far as to call him a great athlete. Oh,
Jesus.
I think he was like a pure special teamer for like 3 of the 4 years he spent in college. So he's got a ton of reps on special teams. He's great at the catch point, knocking passes away. It's also, I can imagine him, even if he's not making it at safety, he could be like a oversized slot corner, one of the big nickels. So I do appreciate him like that. I think his break on the ball is a little bit slow. He's only got 1 year of real experience playing on the defense because he was a special teamer for most of his career. His fundamentals as a tackler, I think, are a little bit poor. And overall, we have to wonder. He was on the Longhorns for 3 years, and they never really played him. He rotted away on the bench. You do have to ask why at some point. So I got some questions, but I would take him as a 5th rounder.
Yeah, I do have him in the 4th round. I just liked how versatile he was. And as we talked about at the start of this, versatility is the thing you want to hold head of the crop of these guys because the need for that fit in the defense. Fast acting safety, and I thought he could play between all 3 roles, between free safety, strong safety, and you can give him slot snaps. You talked about that a little bit, but I think he's comfortable in all 3 of those alignments. He is best as a cover 2 shell guy, so real pure fit there, despite having that flexibility and what you want him to do for the most part. That's why I put him, I think, as much anything into the 4th round. Liked his tape, loved his testing numbers, but really looked at him as a guy too that was really, really conceptually just that pure fit to this defensive scheme and what you're going to ask him to do. And he's got that. He's very understanding of what he's going to need to do from day one walking in here. Loved how he drove on routes from the safety position, a little like Emmanwori in that way where you can actually feel these guys' quickness and their change of direction. When they you call it your click and close. When they engage that and they go, they drop on those routes and they get right on top of it really fast. It's a difference making aspect to them versus what you see from other safeties out there. So I feel like he's got a full skill set. There are some run defense liabilities with them. There is some worries there with him as far as tackling goes at times. I don't think it's horrible, but it's certainly he's going to make his money when it comes to what he does as a cover guy more than he's going to do as a tackler. But gives you a lot in that coverage game. He can play man, he can play zone, he can play in every kind of coverage you want, and that slot versatility I think is going to help him out mightily to probably solidifying him as a 4th round guy. If he was just a safety, I think you go, well, just probably fits the way where you put him, but with the testing times and with that slot versatility, I think he goes 4th.
Okay. I'm not far off from that, so I can see it.
Yeah. Well, let me get a couple of these notions here. Megan Gock, Roger, thank you for becoming a member of the channel. It just had you become a member the last time too, so
if somebody becomes a member while a stream is like saved, the spot is saved, it'll show up on both.
Oh, okay. There we go. Okay. Well, Megan, thank you again for becoming a member of the channel. Appreciate you for that. I love the emoji there. David as well. Thank you for becoming a member of the channel. So if you are a member of the channel, please do keep an eye on your community posts. That's where I do post the membership benefits to you guys over there. So thank you, David, for becoming that member. I appreciate you for doing that. Welcome aboard. Thrill House, thank you for the $2 donation, Thrill House. It says, Baron flying stealth this draft. Best defensive back in the nation.
He is really good. I don't know if I'd say best, but he is very intriguing.
Yeah, he is. And I mean, he might Thrill House prove when we come down the line of this, as far as a few years down the line, that could prove to be that case. I think he has the potential to be that. Some of this has to do with a little bit of, well, we got Will Johnson. We're not sure of how fast he really is. What did that injury situation impact him? Can he become back the player he was in 23? Travis Hunter? Is he really going to end up maybe as more of a receiver than a cornerback when it's all said and done? I'm not saying that's going to happen, but I think there's definitely a possibility of it. Barron's going to be a great slot safety in this league. That's a guy that probably can play some safety snaps for you. I think if you look at him in that way, yeah, you can still be the best corner in this draft. I do believe that. I mean, Witherspoon's the best corner in his draft and as a slot guy. So it's absolutely possible. And he flies around, man. There's no doubt about that. The kid's a playmaker. He's a lot like Witherspoon in so many different ways. But yeah, I could see it through House. Absolutely. He's got the talent to do it, man.
Yeah, I'll give him a chance. I don't think he'll be better than Will Johnson, but I do think that I ranked him higher than Starks on my final big board, actually.
Oh,
now that
I would too. I would too. I think I would have faith in being over the top of him, Starks. He'd probably be for me somewhere in the teens. I haven't done a big board yet as far as actually just quantitatively, but he'd be somewhere in the teens for me.
Mm-hmm.
All right, well, let's get to our last guy we've got here on our board, and this is a kid out of California, Craig Woodson. I've got him as my last guy in the 4th round. Brendan, did you creep him in the 4th round? Is there another 5th rounder for you?
No, I actually put him down even below that. I'm not sure I'm feeling this one. So he's got pretty decent size, pretty decent athletic testing. I think he'll be good in man coverage because he's got that reactive athleticism that you need. I like the way he watches the eyes of the quarterback and reads the quarterback. He's a pretty good tackler. He has good instincts to react to plays, but he doesn't have length, so he's not really able to contest catches as much as a longer player would be able to. Doesn't work through traffic very well. I don't think he looked very fast on the football field. I don't think he hits very hard. So I mostly just think that he's a backup with some special teams value and not too much else. So I couldn't really justify putting him very high at all. I ended up putting him in the 6th round. Maybe the versatility could bump him up to like the 6th round, but I don't think I could put him in the 5th.
I can understand being in that spot with him. It's definitely not a guy that you get a lot of bluster for in watching the tape where you're like, oh, he sold me. It is another kind of a nondescript amount of tape that you're watching with the guy. But for me, it was the versatility and the athleticism that he brings to the position. I thought maybe could give him maybe a slight chance to become a starter, but I think your outlook of him is probably pretty accurate with it. He is a 3-year starter, but you do wonder as well for being a 3-year starter, why he gets misdirected so very often. Is that something with a lot of these guys, a Malachi Moore that's played so much tape, it's like that doesn't happen to them. They know where to be at that point when they play that much, and he should too. And it is kind of leave you wondering a little bit with him. I like what he does in coverage. He's a pretty good tackler overall with that versatility. Neither thing or some great portion of his game that just really stands out. It's just kind of there and fine, and it's good. But I think your outlook of it is probably pretty accurate on it. I think he takes some laborious paths there to the ball carrier. I don't know if he's got a lot of that dog in him to want to go there and just be, vicious with it. So it's, again, a guy that could probably go anywhere from that 4th to 6th round range and to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it's possible that I just was checked out by the time I was looking at him. And I don't know. Looking back at it, maybe he's like a 6th rounder to me, but I can't get to the 5th.
It's the way the safety class went, especially in some of these guys we've gone to into this part of the safety crew. I mean, say nothing of the guys that are behind these guys, Brendan. There's a lot of boring safeties in this class. There's even some pretty good testers this year, where in prior years we've had guys that have just been awful testers, where the fastest guy ran like a 4.65 40. It's not that. This year there are some guys that are running some pretty good times. It's just that the tape it makes you yawn. You get through like 2 quarters of it and you're like, I think I've seen enough. I don't know if I need to see any more of this guy. I'm pretty good. And a lot of those guys in this draft, Woodson's kind of a guy like that.
Yeah, I think that checks out. I think that pretty much checks out. So that was it for me as well. I think let me make sure here. Yeah, I had Dave Jackson. Yeah, I think that basically wraps us up here.
Well, there we go, folks. So we've done it. We have gone end to end through all of the notable prospects in this draft. There's definitely guys here and there we probably missed it, sprinkled in, but it's always, these will be guys that'll be day 3 guys if we didn't cover them. And it's hard to say in this day 3, especially this particular draft, which is very unpredictable about where exactly they go. But we tried to concentrate in on the guys that we thought had potential to provide impact, to be starters, to be even potential stars in this way, and how we wanted to approach the draft this year versus getting kind of clung up on the 6th, 7th rounders that are not likely to do much of anything. We want to kind of lock in on the guys that can actually potentially be really, really, really good pros. But I always have fun doing this with you every year, Brendan.
Yeah.
We're going to get a week from now and the clock resets back down to 0 and we start it back up again.
Yeah.
It's the way it works, folks. It's like when it's like when, Jordan goes and wins the championship and then he's back in the gym next Monday morning. It's a little bit like that. It's kind of almost an exact equivalency, really. But I've had a lot of fun doing this with you, Brendan. I thank you, man, for being willing to go through all these positions with me and do the deep dives into the tape. It's a lot of work, but like you say, it better educates us not only on these prospects coming out, but it better educates us on these prospects for when they become pros, when they become on the open market as free agents, when we're looking at maybe trading for these guys and why there will be that draw and what players we are given. That's a part of this too. It's a part of the better understanding of these guys as when they actually do get to here, not just to look at them for the draft.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it gives us something to talk about during the offseason when there otherwise would not be a lot to talk about.
That's true. And certainly once we get into May and June, it's going to be a lot of Brendan this right here, actually. Just a lot of this right here. So get while the getting's good. Get while the getting's good. We thank you guys for watching today. If you can do me this favor and hit the like button. If you're watching Seahawks Brendan Nelson's side on his channel, hit the like button. If you're on the Hawks Nest, hit my like button. If you're not subbed up, please subbed up to both sides of it. We would really appreciate it. Brendan is going to be 27 minutes away from going to Bleacher Report to take part in
57, not 27.
57. Sorry, 57. He's 57 minutes away. 1 o'clock, going to go to the Bleacher Report, and he's going to participate in a mock draft with other content creators. So they've got a person from every team out there that they've aligned up here and set up here for Brendan to take part in. So it's going to be, he's going to be picking for the Seahawks in this Bleacher Report deal. Brendan, do you have the link down there in your description section?
Let me see. I can post the link in the chat because I actually just got it while we were filming this show. So I can put it in the comments right now. You have to have the Bleacher Report app for that to work. Let me put it in your chat as well, actually. Because StreamYard won't post it to both locations unless I actually go to your actual chat. And if you want to participate in the chat, you have to have a Bleacher Report account. But yeah, all right. So I just went ahead and sent that over. So if you want to participate, definitely do that. And hopefully I don't do what the Vikings did in 2003. I don't know if any of you guys even know what I'm talking about. That's a Deep Cuts reference. Basically, they didn't get their pick in time, and they got jumped by the team behind them. That actually happened in real life. Look it up.
Indeed, a tough look there for that Viking team. That is a bad look for the front office. So don't do that, Brendan. Don't do that. I want a tasty player here. So go get it done, man. Get it done and knock it out and lap those folks out there. So please do check it out. Like Brendan said, it is an app you got to download, but it is a free app. So just click on that, download it, free app, free to set up, and go check that out. It's a lot of fun. As you're going to get probably as accurate a mock draft as you'd get from any of these pundits individually that are trying to put it together, because all of these guys are connected to their team. They know what everybody's looking for. They know what the teams are really locking in on at this point. So should be a lot of fun. Brendan, go knock that one out the park, brother.
If I end up drafting the player that we actually draft in the first round, I'm going to feel like the Lisan Al-Gaid.
I mean, why you should at that point, you know what I mean? I mean, that's a definite earn the pat the back thing. So, hey, and last year we did it last year. Both of us had, I think, our final mocks. We had Byron Murphy going in the first round. So, people knock these mocks, but I always say that it's a refinement process that ideally takes you by the end of it to the place that's as close to being most likely the selections as you can kind of get. And that's why you do it. So,
right. And I'm going to be putting the link up in my community tab as well. So if you want it there, check out my community tab. Putting it in my Discord so you can get it from there as well. So yeah, many different ways.
Sweet. Well, me and Brendan will be back this Monday. We're going to have our own mock off, back and forth, mano y mano. Who can put the best mock draft together? We're going to see what you guys think on that. So we will be back on Monday, 12 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So be ready to be on the lookout for that. We'll be covering the draft end to end next week. Shows after every day of the draft. Maybe day 3. Got to see if we're still able to speak at that point or not. But Brendan, I thank you for doing this draft coverage with me, man. Go kill it there at the Bleacher Report. We'll be back very soon, folks. But until next time, don't you ever forget. Don't you dare do it. Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.